Okay, now I think we're live on YouTube. What's up, Will? How you doing, man? Let me post in the good old Discord. What's the problem with not having a, what you call it? What is it? A stream starting screen, you know? Ohio with the 63 months. Didn't even let the streak break when I was gone. What's up, Billy? John? Yo, we got the homies. We got the homies in already. I was cold before the stream started. As soon as the stream started, I was hot. So I'm taking my jacket off. Been a while, homies. Been a while. We're gonna wait just a couple minutes for people to roll in, give people a chance to roll in, and then we'll get started talking about what we're gonna talk about today, which is actually not a lot, I think, but I mean it could be a lot. We got lots we could talk about. A fucking election has taken place since the last time I was like on the internet in any capacity. So I mean, there's endless stuff we could talk about, but as far as the stuff we're going to talk about, really not that much today, I don't think. God damn, I need a haircut. My hair's so freaking long, man. I'm not used to being on camera. But anyways, what's been going on? What's been going on with you guys in the last 4 months? Give me something to bounce off of. What's up, Nog? The Sonic movies come out since the last time I was live. Fucking election. Goddamn. Every domino that's fallen because of the election. Thanks, Game for Sus. Game for Us. That was a happy Freudian slip. Glad you're able to find it. Shit, I mean, started Metal Gear Solid Collection today. My guy, welcome to the most fucking crazy ass goddamn video games of all time. Yo, Benchy, thanks for the follow, the Twitch follow. We are multi-streaming today. I've got the Twitch and the YouTube set up, as you guys can see. But Stream Elements came out with their own multi-streaming plugin, which I'm trying now today. It works pretty much the exact same as the ATOM one. So basically nothing gained or lost. But you know, we like stream elements, and I don't know, seemed like something cool, so I set it up. Missed the thermal goggles. Apparently, you'll be okay. That is something that makes the game more difficult for people who don't search it out. Metal Gear Solid 1 has an interesting design choice. I don't think I've ever seen another game really do something like that. So for you uninitiated, Metal Gear Solid is a fairly linear game. You do open up, you can like backtrack, but you generally will open up new areas in kind of a linear fashion. What that generally means is if you miss something, you can usually go back and get it. And most other Metal Gear games have been like that. And the stuff that you can miss often isn't just super useful. In Metal Gear Solid 2, you can miss the assault rifle. Metal Gear Solid 3 actually has a lot of missable stuff, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is really fucking easy, and you're probably just gonna be using the train gun anyway. So Metal Gear Solid 3 just has a lot of tools and like other stuff that like opens up the sandbox of the game for you to find that you can miss. But Metal Gear Solid 1, generally you can backtrack at any point in the game and pick up anything that you miss. And also most things just aren't that missable because the game is so structured and linear, and you have to like get certain items to proceed. Though one exception is the thermal goggles. And the thermal goggles are unique in that you can get them very early on in the game, but if you miss them before they become useful, by the time they become useful, the door that they were behind is locked and can't be opened until significantly later in the game, arguably to where they're no longer useful. So a lot of first-time players will either find it and will, because they, you know, explore everything or whatever, and will be able to use it and will find it useful and not even realize that it was missable. And then players who miss it won't realize that they've missed it until it's far too late. And characters that are like there to give you hints will be like, yeah, use the thermal goggles. And you'll be like, yeah. But honestly, after the first, you know, third of the game, not a big deal. They come in handy, but they're not just super like needed. It's not just going to be something that just makes or breaks your ability to beat the game. Generally, there's other ways of getting around the obstacles that the thermal goggles kind of bypass. So, but it's always just been interesting to me that that's something that the game kind of punishes you for not exploring early on, rather than rewards you for exploring early on. It's interesting. It'd be like in Zelda if you missed the bow and then had to like early on in the game, and then you couldn't get the bow after the bow becomes useful. You had to use the slingshot unless you happened to have stumbled upon the bow or have found the bow before the bow became useful. It's just like such weird kind of game design. I wanted to start out with videos, but I don't know what I want to put on my main channel. So I started out with 2 other channels instead. That's why there's a question mark, by the way. I've had a similar I've had a similar thing go on in my time, and we're actually going to talk about that a little bit today. Cuz I'm actually going to kind of do the opposite. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. We're going to wait maybe just a couple more minutes till people roll in before we start talking about the serious stuff. Same, Haya, same. Much to my detriment. By the way, fucking, do we like the shirt? Do we like the fit, chat? I think my girlfriend found this shirt for me. I was like, hell yeah. Some videos from point and click fans about old games you can miss a necessary item. There's no backtracking. That's fucked up. That's real fucked up, actually. Like, you better have clicked on everything, you son of a bitch. Else you gotta restart the game. Dead save file. Well, thanks, game. Your name is Game now, I've decided. Also, hi, I got a girlfriend. Let's go, everybody. Congrats. Love wins. What's up, Patrick? How you doing, my man? That is my nickname. All right, that's good. Ever tried the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game? I have not. That's usually pretty helpful. I like games that let you do that. But even still, you got to know to do that. I've had people, you know, a friend of mine actually killed her save in Baldur's Gate because she saved. Does Baldur's Gate 3 let you save during combat? I forget. I think it does because it's turn-based. She was saving over her save every time. Even though it wasn't an honor mode run, she was saving over her save every time. And she saved in the middle of a combat where there's nothing she can do. She can't escape. She doesn't have enough movement. She doesn't have like enough resources to get through the fight. And there's nothing she can do. I guess technically, since it's all dice, she could keep reloading her save until she only rolls nat 20s and the enemies only roll nat 1s. But other than that, it's pretty much a dead save. And so she had to restart the game. It's going good, Fuzz. How you doing? Just listen to the 5 books. I've started reading again, chat. You guys want to see what I've been reading? Hold on. My girlfriend got me this book, which is actually really hard to find. It's rather elusive, if you would believe it. It was recommended by Matt Colville, who is probably the maybe not the most famous like D&D content creator on YouTube, but probably among them. Most people who watch D&D content know who Matt Colville is. It was recommended by him because it talks about the early days of RPGs, tabletop RPGs, D&D and the like, and how they came about, and like what the discourse was about them and how they were played before there were like online forums and stuff. And it's interesting because people would like write back and forth to each other in fan magazines called fanzines, if you will. And the arguments they were having about how the game was played are the exact same arguments that have been on forums for the last 50 years, have been on online forums since online forums were a thing. It's kind of cool to see. It's really interesting to me. So it's about just like how Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson fucking cooked up D&D from just a hodgepodge of different stuff, and then it blew up beyond their imagination. It's pretty neat. It reads dry as fuck. Like, let me read you a passage, and y'all tell me if this sounds at all interesting. If you're not into if you're not into D&D and shit. Let's just like pull up. Okay, I'll read you the first paragraph. It starts out, the two cultures. All right. Dungeons & Dragons famously resulted from the intersection of two cultures, a gaming culture of conflict simulation and a literary culture engaged with speculative and fantastic fiction. Or as Gary Gygax put it in 1976, it arose from a combination of warfare with miniature figures and the desire to create heroic epics of the strange and supernatural. To understand the first audience of D&D, it is therefore necessary to understand the two pre-existing cultures of wargaming and science fiction fandom, where the latter is understood to encompass fans of fantasy fiction. God, that's a fun mouthful. A fun mouthful of fantasy fiction. Science fiction fandom got organized decades before the first game's fans banded together, and the wargaming community would copy the pioneering structure that enabled science fiction fans to forge their own identity. National and regional clubs, which hosted both local and large-scale conventions, and published amateur magazines, or fanzines, for disseminating ideas throughout their membership. It's like, this reads like a fucking school textbook, but it's interesting as fuck, because it's about D&D. It's actually fucking interesting. It's fucking wild that of all the things to like hold my interest and like get me back into reading, it's something like that. But I've been reading that. I have Dr. K's book I've been reading. It's about parenting, so it's not really all that super interesting to me, but it's Dr. K, so it's cool. I've been I bought like a couple other books. I did read actually I'm gonna grab another book because I'm gonna talk about it today. Oh shit, except I don't have it anymore. I lended it to my mom. So I can't show it on stream, but I'll talk about it here a little bit. Reads academic books for fun. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? Look, I'm not saying that I talked to my therapist about getting an autism test or whatever it's called. But I am saying that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's something I'm looking into. Because let's all be real. It's got to be, right? Like, but anyway, I think we can go ahead and get started talking about our main subject for the day, which is, I guess me, or I guess us, you know, as a community. But I don't know. I'm just enjoying being here with you guys again. I got to tell you guys, there's always that little part of me, and I hate admitting this. I don't know why I hate admitting this, but I do. But there's always a part of me that's maybe because it's like, maybe I hate it because like I don't want to feel like I don't have faith in you guys, you know, as the best community on the internet, right? But I'm always terrified that after I take a long break or whatever, if I do something like a live stream or a video, it's like, hey, I'm back, that nobody's gonna show up, you know, that everybody's moved on with their lives. But I mean, what do you guys have in your lives that's better than me? Let's go. Let's be real. Come on. The answer should be a lot of things. But that's life these days. Election didn't go as planned, so there's not a whole lot of joy left in the world right now. So singing in a choir, that's dope. I've made friends with a choir teacher. It is a common fear on the internet. It is. I try not to subscribe to the common fears though, you know? I try to, I don't know, avoid all that. I try not to be afraid, but you know. So anyway, let's talk about the big stuff. As you may know, I have not been on the internet for like the last 4 months, at least not like publicly. You know, I've been on Discord. I've been like talking to my friends still. You know, I've been doing stuff. I've been playing video games occasionally. I've been living life. I've been, you know, eating, sleeping, doing the stuff. But I haven't been posting videos, haven't been live streaming, haven't been posting shorts, haven't really been posting on Twitter because Elon Musk has completely blown that shit up and it's ruined any sense of joy I once took from that site. I actually around the time that the ADHD video came out in late October, I uninstalled Twitter from my phone finally, because I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you'd think I would have replaced it with Blue Sky, but I haven't replaced it with Blue Sky just because they're not. I don't want to have to go back through and follow everybody, which most people actually now do have a Blue Sky account, but I don't really want to go through and follow everybody. And people don't really want to cross post, and so really they're still on Twitter, and I get it because I'm also still on Twitter, but it's like, goddamn it. So it's like, eh. And so social media, I've just been like disconnected from social media, which you'd think would make me a lot happier, and in some ways it has. But it's like we all know, it's been hard to be happy these last few months, just in general, and not just because of the political climate. It just in general. I think something that universally is going around. I think it is the political climate the way it is because we're all unhappy, or are we all unhappy because of the political climate? I think it's a little bit of both, There's an extension for bringing over your followers to Blue Sky. That's pretty cool, but I can't imagine it would have to. Surely it would have to be everybody has to have the same right? All the same fucking, whatever. Or they'd have to have the like profiles linked or something. But fucking terrified. Capital F, capital T is right. It's been real rough. For pretty much everybody who doesn't look like me. And I mean, it's been real rough for me. So I was like, ugh. So it sucked, but, I've been doing things behind the scenes. I've been working on things behind the scenes. And normally I'm pretty excited about that kind of stuff because that means when I come back to stuff like this, that means like on a day like this, I'd have like a bunch to tell you guys about, a bunch to show you guys, a bunch to like brag about, and a bunch to show off. And unfortunately, I have none of that. And I'll tell you why that is. So let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about, because I wasn't actually expecting just everybody here to be a lot of the homies and a lot of the regulars, because a lot of you guys don't need to hear probably the first part of the story because y'all were there, or you've been here and you've heard it before, So, but for everybody who watches this on the VOD, or for everybody who is here that is new to the community or relatively new, isn't the multi-year homies like some of the good folks in this chat right here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of backstory. So I graduated college in the spring of 2019, and around the time I graduated, I started my like full-time like big adult big boy day job, and I started streaming. And I started streaming in YouTube. I had done streaming in YouTube before, but I had never done that's when Meat on the Rocks was created. That's when the brand name came about. That is now the current brand name that has survived since. So it's when I started like streaming seriously or making YouTube videos seriously, So I read David's wonderful chat about how Blue Sky is whack, and I got completely derailed. So when I was born, I was given this beautiful grace from God called ADHD. That's really the beginning of the story. But what type of job? I was a software analyst. That was my title. I sat at a desk and clicked and clacked on a keyboard. I was there. I was mostly useless. I was there to fill a chair and looked good when they gave investors tour of the office. I used to kind of bullshit about what my job was and kind of kind of explain kind of what the concept was. But really, if I keep it 100 with you, that was what my job was. There were other people in my department. Like my department wasn't useless, but like my job generally for most of the year could have been done by about 3 people, and we had 2 teams of 8, I think. And in fact, most of the job was done by 3 people. So it was kind of whack. And now there were parts of the year where all 8 of us were working at capacity, but it was like a month out of the year. And we were paid salary, but we were made to log our hours and like keep like an hourly log and things like that just made it to where we had to come up with busy work to fill our time. And it was deeply unsatisfying. And pretty much as soon as I started that job, I had been streaming for maybe a month at that point. I'd been like streaming in YouTube. I really hadn't even started YouTube yet. I had been streaming maybe a month, and I loved it. I met, I think Will, Drown in Fire here in the chat, I think was there. I think he's the only one from that time period that's still kind of a regular viewer. If I have anything that you could really, for me to have regular viewers, I would have to be a regular streamer, right? So, but I think Will is one of the last of the old guard, if you consider that the old guard. And the the moment that I really started that job, I immediately started thinking of an exit plan. Like I was like, I'm not going to do this until I'm 60. I'm not going to do this for the next 40 years. I immediately knew that streaming was really fucking cool and really fun. And I think it was within that first summer, Will. So I think it was within the first couple months of me streaming. I think really one of the first so I started streaming Sekiro. And I had very few viewers, like maybe 1 or 2 per stream. And I then started doing some other games. I picked up a couple other viewers here and there, but then I started doing Jackbox, and having like I would stream Jackbox games, and I would be like, okay, playing with viewers, you know, and I would get 20 something people coming in, and it was like, holy shit. I've never seen 20 something organic viewers, right? I'm used to like 1 or 2, maybe 3. You know, I had affiliate by that point, from my days of Metal Gear Solid speedrunning. So I figured out how to get three average viewers at some point, but really I'd never spent more than a few streams with more than 5 people at all. And so then we were regularly kind of pulling up around, you know, between 5 and 10 if we were doing variety, and then we could get up to, you know, above 10, up into the 20 area when we did our Jackbox nights. And we had kind of the regular crew. We had Will, we had Taco, we had Wolf, we had Wolves, we had Electric, we had eventually we had John, we had eventually David, we had Haya, we had a lot of really cool people that formulated what I called the best community on the internet. And a lot of them have been around ever since. And some have come and gone and come again and then gone again and then come again. And we've been doing this ever since. So in 2021, about 2 years after I started working at that day job, I left and I became a full-time content creator with absolutely no plan on how to replace my income, because of course, being a software job, I was making decent income, and I was essentially using that to subsidize my kind of YouTube and stream business at the time. Bought a decent PC, bought a decent camera, bought a couple decent cameras, bought a couple decent microphones, got the gear up to where I wanted it to be, and then really just focused on saving as much money as I possibly could. Excuse me, it was COVID. I was single. I wasn't really going out. I wasn't going out with friends. I wasn't doing a whole lot of stuff. When I do go out with friends, I do shit that's really cheap. I'll go to a karaoke bar, sing, and I'll fucking order water and leave, and I'll have spent $0 for the night. You know, that's my like ideal night out, right? I was just saving a shit ton of money so that I could go full-time in content. And I went full-time in 2021 at the end of May. So it's been almost 4 years now that I've been a content creator exclusively, which is wild to say. But one of the ways that I decided I was going to subsidize kind of my YouTube and Twitch stream, because I was still less than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I was still less than 20 average viewers on Twitch. Probably less than, really, I was around 10 to 15 average viewers on Twitch on a good month. And that was really when I was doing super well for myself. And I think we may have gotten up to 20 around that time. We may have gotten up to broken the 20 average viewers threshold, which was really tough to overcome. But we had a podcast going at the time. That podcast was bringing in quite a few people. We were doing a big donation push at the time, but really I didn't want to spend too much time reminiscing, because I want to get us up to the present day. But of course, that was a really great time. That was a really happy time for me, despite all of my frustrations with work, and despite the fact that, you know, it looked like we had climbed. It looked like we had climbed, you know, Mount Kilimanjaro to realize we still had Mount Everest to climb. We had climbed so hard to get up to that point. only to realize that after 2 years, I was still only like 1% of the way there. It was incredibly intimidating and a little discouraging. And I actually pulled back from regular streams at that time. And I actually haven't been a regular streamer since then. I've done streams here and there, and I've done streams, you know, I think there's been a couple of times where I would do once a week streams since then. But honestly, I've not really been a regular streamer since that time. I switched to really kind of focusing on growing the YouTube, which didn't necessarily pan out immediately, but was something that I wanted to focus on. And I started becoming a freelance video editor because I realized I guess I was consistent for a while with BG3, but it was kind of different because it wasn't streaming in the way that I was streaming back then. You know, it wasn't the same kind of thing. It was more of a thing I was doing for fun rather than something to like create something, you know, unique and cool. Now we did end up creating something unique and cool with BG3. We got kind of involved with the Baldur's Gate community, which was pretty cool. They really were very accepting and very like just fun to hang out with. And it was really cool that they decided to drop in and hang out with us. But, it wasn't the same as back then. You and I both know, you know, we were there, right? So, I became a freelance video editor, to try and subsidize the income. And, that worked somewhat for a little while. And, I ended up finding other means of income. I actually traded stocks for a while, which is wild to think about. Especially with my kind of politics, to think that that's a way that I made money. But it was a way of me being independent from having to work a day job, right? I did around this time last year, I quit. But before this time last year, I had been doing DoorDash and Uber Eats for about 6 months to kind of subsidize the income. And yeah, I've had various clients for my freelance video editing. Around this time last year, though, I quit doing Uber Eats. I quit doing DoorDash, and I said I had just come out of I kind of got burned by a client deal at around that time, around this time last year. I'd kind of gotten burned by this client deal. It was a really great client, and things just didn't really work out. And he really wasn't ready to bring on an editor onto his channel yet. And we kind of jumped the gun by bringing me on, but he didn't want to leave me out to dry. So he kept me on for far longer than he should have. And then it ended up, there was really nothing he could do but leave me out to dry. And I don't really hold him personally responsible for it. There's no bad blood between us. He's still kind of a homie. But it was something where it was like, well, this is just a shitty situation for both of us. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to maybe, for the first time ever, really just invest in myself. Not do client work, not do DoorDash, Uber Eats, not do a side job, not do a side hustle. Just put my nose to the grindstone. I have enough saved for the next few months that I can survive. You know, what if I just went full grindstone, full, and I don't like to use the word grindstone because I don't like the word grind because it shouldn't be a grind, right? But if I really just invest in myself and really just kind of put everything out there that I can, that I really just try to do my best to be my best content creator self, what would happen? Where would my ceiling be if I weren't limited by having to split my time with other things that take my focus? And so I did that for about a month, maybe a little bit, maybe a month and a half, but about a month. For about a month, in the first video I put out with that, it blew everybody away. It blew my expectations away. It blew anybody who knows me expectations away, it blows y'all's expectations away. That video, we all know which one I'm talking about, is sitting at like 660,000 views. And completely changed the trajectory of my life, completely changed the trajectory of my channel. And that's not an exaggeration. And we'll get to why that is. It just completely showed me, it completely validated everything that I was thinking, that I should be focusing on myself. But there was still a really loud voice in my head that was filled with doubt, because it's like, oh shit, now that I've made that happen once, how the hell do you follow that up? And I really tried not to put pressure on myself to follow it up. I was very intentional about actually not, I did not do a follow-up video immediately. I changed gears a little bit and did 2 kind of other themed videos before doing a follow-up video to that one. And that one came out to obviously not nearly the same success, but still was very successful relative to my channel, and was getting to the viewpoint, was reaching the viewership to where it was like, okay, if I can hit this consistently, I could pay my bills just with YouTube. And then it became scary, because then it was like, okay, this is real. This is actually doable. More doable than it ever could have been before. Because I'd had successful videos in the past. I had a video, I think it was winter of 22. I sound like an old timer. I think it was winter of 2022. I had 2 videos come out that both I think are now sitting at 100,000 views. But they both took like over a month to complete, and it was like, that's not sustainable. They also were my best ideas. Like, there was no real following them up. And so this was the first time that I was like, okay, this actually could be sustainable. And I was honestly, chat, to be completely honest with you, around that time, I was probably the happiest I've ever been. I think that would probably be, and I don't know that I was on a, like I don't know that I just like every day was just like filled with joy, but like I was at my highest like level of personal satisfaction. And I got the opportunity to travel to Europe for a week, or for like 10 days. And I got to see a lot of Europe. And it was phenomenal. And I came back from that just feeling really, really good about everything. And as I started to, as I came back, it was the summer. My girlfriend's a teacher and we lived together. So when we came back, we didn't really get back to our usual schedule. She's at home because it's the summer. So I kind of am spending more time with her rather than, working really. I'm taking advantage of the summer to spend more time with her. So I'm having a little bit of trouble getting back into the schedule I had kind of set up for myself for about that month and a half before heading to Europe. But I still was able to get, a few videos out. She starts school back up, and I realized that I was having trouble really finding the same creative energy. I had taken on, so where I had faltered was in the summer, I had gotten an offer that was like, I had a friend reach out to me and was like, hey, are you still doing freelance editing? And I was like, if the right job comes around, if the right thing comes around. And he was like, well, I know this person's looking for an editor, I'll give them your contact information if you're okay with that. I was like, cool. So I got in contact with this guy and I got signed on to this channel, and I started editing for this channel that will go unnamed. And I really kind of lost, I started to not love doing client editing anymore. That client really was not treating me very well, and it was the first time that I really had a client that wasn't treating me very well. But it was my highest paid client by a long shot. And so I was like kind of remiss to be like, well, I don't really just want to do this anymore when I was making a consistent income from that client. So I kind of pumped the brakes a little bit on my own content to make time for that, which I was okay with at the time. But that ended up kind of blowing up in my face because that client one day just decided to drop me. And it was done in a really disrespectful manner. And frankly, I told them what for. I kind of was like, hey, here's kind of the ways that you kind of messed this up, and kind of did not handle this professionally. And I tried to be as professional as possible with it on my end, and was like, okay, well, now we kind of move on from that. So that's around when the ADHD video came out, which is my most recent upload. That was around October, late October. And so I shifted gears, put out the ADHD video, was very happy with it. Did a sponsorship in that video, which was wild. I'd done my first sponsorship had just occurred recently. That this was my second sponsorship. And it was my second most successful video. So it did okay as far as sponsorships go. But I'm trying to think of what the timeline was. December rolls around. And in December, I got wildly depressed. And I don't really know why. I still don't really know why. I get a little bit of seasonal depression anyway. I just kind of don't have as much energy in the winter. Physical energy, creative energy, just like energy for like tolerance for bullshit in general, just kind of goes out the door during the winter. And I find that just kind of happens every year. So the holidays roll around. We're busy for the holidays, Thanksgiving and then into Christmas. We're kind of busy during that whole time. And in December, I was working on 2 different videos. I was working on the next, Sonic, commentary video, as well as I started working on a video breaking down the YouTube algorithm, because I feel like so many people come out with videos that's like, here's how to hack the algorithm. Here's how fucking you should do this for the algorithm. And it's all, it's frankly, it's all bullshit, right? We all know that it's pretty much all bullshit. So I was going to come out with a video that's like, actually, okay, here's actually how the YouTube algorithm works. Here's actually how it operates behind the scenes, why it works the way that it does, how it's incentivized to balance its priorities between the creators, advertisers, viewers, as well as YouTube itself, protecting YouTube itself. And I think in researching for that video, I think is when I got really depressed because when I started really looking into it and really looking into, because then my research started to go into like, how do social media algorithms work? And AI has been kind of tapping into those spaces and becoming part of those spaces. And this was in a post-election society where all of these things were coming into question, as far as like how politics was going to play a part in the information age going forward, since fucking the government is now the government is pushing the media out of press conferences, government press conferences and things like that. Like, we have no idea really what the information age is going to look like here in 4 years. And it all got really scary, and it all got really intimidating, and all got really overwhelming. And it kind of, alongside kind of being kind of dropped from my client work suddenly, in November, that it was a rough time. It was a rough time, chat. I was not feeling good about myself. Then I got rung up. A homie contacted me and was like, hey, are you still doing client work? And I was like, I really don't know, man. It would really have to be the perfect job. I think it would have to be the perfect position for me to work with client work right now, because I'm really, the last client I worked with really kind of burned me, and I'm really kind of burnt out on working for clients, and so I really just don't know. And he was like, well, I have the perfect job. I was like, well, shit. All right. Well, then I guess we'll do it. So they told me about it, and it was indeed the perfect job. And it was, I was contacted by another guy, who just, he made a really great first impression. He seemed like a really genuine dude. Had worked with some really big names in the industry, was by and large the biggest name I had ever worked with, at least associated with, as far as like who he's associated with. He put me only 2 Kevin Bacon steps away from a lot of crazy people, which was cool, I guess, which was interesting. But the biggest thing, the biggest green flag was that, my friend that put me in contact with this guy, brought me into the email chain. And when the guy saw that my screen name was Neat on the Rocks, he goes, "Oh my God, I loved that video of yours that went viral last year, or this, however many months ago. It was really cool to see. Like, it's nice to meet you." And I was like, me? It's nice to meet me? I got recognized, chat? Are you fucking kidding me? I got recognized organically? That's fucking wild, dude. So I was on cloud 9. Needless to say, I was happy with that. And it was very cool to see. So this guy offered me a contract, a long-term contract, and was willing to pay up front. He was willing to pay up front. So he decides he's going to pay me up front for this like long-term contract. And is like, hey, we will start, we'll start you out in January. I was like, cool, sounds great. Pays me, everything's great. January rolls around. He's like, hey, we're waiting on some stuff to come in. This was like, I was basically kind of working for an agency. And so we had like multiple clients that would send us stuff, and I was like an editor for this agency, basically. And they come in and they're like, we've got a couple clients, we're waiting on stuff from them for you to work on. We'll kind of let you know. I was like, cool. So January comes and goes. And I'm kind of like, all right, well, are we gonna start this? Because like I'm on term for a contract, and you've kind of already paid me up front for part of it. So like, are we gonna like get to the point where I'm actually working for you? And they eventually were like, okay, we've got work for you. So I started work at the beginning of this month. And during that time, I wasn't quite working for them yet. I was like, I really should be working on my channel, because I really should not give up on building my own thing. I've got cool stuff going here. We reached 28,000 subscribers now, which is fucking obscene. 28, if you guys don't know, is my lucky number. So 28,000 was a cool milestone for me personally. And it was something where I was like, I really should be working on my own channel, but I just was not finding the creative energy to do so. And I was finding the creative energy to do other stuff, but it was stuff that wasn't stuff that I thought I could upload to the channel. And so I wasn't. And I had some stuff going on. I neglected to really give attention to like fulfilling the membership stuff as well. And so, but then anyway, I started with this company, and I started with this agency, and I'm on for about 2 weeks, and it's really difficult work. It's really demanding. They've got really tight turnarounds and stuff, but I was keeping up. I was pulling my weight, I felt. And I was feeling supported. I was going to my family, and I was going to my friends, I was going to my girlfriend, I was going to my therapist, and I was saying, I feel supported in my work for the first time maybe ever, because I like truly supported, because I even when I worked at my day job, I had a really good support in my friends that worked there as well. But when it came to kind of with the nature of the work, there just wasn't a whole lot that could be done in terms of supporting me. So it was one of the times I was able to say, like, I feel supported in my job for the first time, I think maybe ever, as far as being supported from an outside, from like supported in every dimension. You know, it wasn't just support from you guys. I say just, but of course, you know, support from you guys has been amazing. But it wasn't just support from you guys, just support from my coworkers, or just support from management. It was like support all the way up and down. It seemed like the clients were happy. It seemed like the editors I was working with were happy. It seemed like the people above me were happy. And so things were going good. Then I woke up one morning and received a message, hey, we will no longer be needing your services. We're terminating your contract. And, you know, we paid you up front, so consider our relationship severed. And then basically blocked me. And it was maddening. Absolutely maddening. It was maybe, and you know, and what's crazy is I wasn't even that upset, like on a moment to moment basis. Like I wasn't crying. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't just like, I didn't feel the devastation, right? Just up front. But it it was, I think I was in shock, really. I think there was an element of shock to it, because I truly didn't see it coming. At least with the previous experience with the previous client, and even and with every experience where I've been dropped by a client before, I've to some extent seen it coming. And anytime I've kind of come to a conclusion with any sort of working relationship, it's usually been at least somewhat mutual, right? You know, there's been frustrations on my end too, that it's like, yeah, you're right, this really isn't working out, you know? So it was really baffling. I still don't understand really what happened. You know, the client work I did, they sent me a screenshot that the video that I worked on was a 1 out of 10 for the client. Everybody that worked with me expressed, they were like, hey, good job on this video. It's, you know, you're doing great work so far. Really confused as to what the decision was, especially because they had paid me up front, for more than the amount of work that I had done. Why they didn't at least see that part of the contract out. You know, if you pay me half up front for a 3-month contract, what do you gain by dropping me after a month and a half if I'm not if I'm not doing anything wrong? Like, I didn't receive so much as a single like piece of negative feedback. There was no feedback that was like, hey, can you do this differently, or can we do something more like this going forward? Which, if you're gonna invest in somebody, why would you not want to invest that kind of thing to it? So anyway, I don't want to go on and on about this, because it's just, I mean, I feel unprofessional for doing so anyway, but it just also just isn't, it's just not worth my time to really dive into as far as like how that works. So, I was just really confused and really really upset, just in general, and, really discouraged, because not unprofessional to just state a fact. I mean, You know, I could put these people on blast if I really wanted to. I'm not going to, because truly, you know, in any other situation, right? If you were to put somebody on blast, they would come back. They would have something they could come back and say. You know, if I put the you know, previous client on blast that had dropped me in November, if I put them on blast, you know, they could come back and say like, well, we were dissatisfied with these things, which they shared with me, and were things that just ended up not being reconcilable between us. And it sucks for me, but it's also totally fair to a certain extent at the same time. You know, it's something where you could see, you know, like how that there's like, well, I guess, not to say it wasn't how they handled it wasn't worthy of criticism, but it's like, okay, whatever, let's move on with our lives. This, however, is something where it's like, if I called them out on it, they could clap me back with nothing, because if they could clap me back with anything, they would have just shared that feedback. And the very fact that they didn't share that feedback and decided to drop me just out of the blue, was it sucked. It sucked. What really sucked was that when I interviewed with this guy and I talked to this guy and I had felt like I had made such a good personal connection with this person, something I shared was that he was kind of like, you know, why do you want to work here / for us / for me / whatever. And I was like, well, because he was like, because obviously you've got videos that are going on that are doing well for yourself. And, you know, you mentioned that you were full-time already. So like, what makes you want to do this specifically? And I was like, well, I kind of want more stability, because as you guys know, I've been dating somebody for a while, and we would eventually like to, you know, move up in the world. We'd like to you know, eventually, you know, do stuff that couples do, you know, right? We're already living together, but we'd like to, you know, potentially start a life together, and we can't really even consider that until we have a little bit more stability in our lives. And so, oh no, they were fully aware of how, they were fully aware of how much because it was over a 3-month period, but it was also for a certain number of projects. And so, the fact that I had basically only completed 2 projects out of, like, I don't even remember how many there were. We essentially were on track to do, I think we were on track to do like 11 videos in the first quarter of 2025. And we were essentially going to have to play catch up starting in February. And I did 2 videos and they terminated the contract. So they had paid me for essentially 5.5 videos, and I did 2 and they dropped me. So I don't know why they were very much aware of how much short I was. But anyway, I made a personal connection with this guy and was like, I want more stability. I want to eventually, you know, I maybe get married, maybe start a family. You never know. I want something that's a little bit more reliable on top of what I'm doing with my YouTube channel to try and kind of bring in a little bit less of that, because I was so tired of having a client, having a few good videos, having, you know, a time of feast, you know, where things are going really well, and then client drops me, videos are slow, you know, the famine, right? And that kind of back and forth, that rubber banding of, now I'm not worrying about money, now I'm worried about money, now I'm not worrying about money, now I'm worried about money. Like that just, it gets exhausting. I would rather just consistently worry about money than have it be that rubber band, honestly. So I shared that with this guy, and then he drops me after 2 weeks. or whoever decided, you you know, they dropped me after essentially working for them for about 2 weeks. So very, very, very disappointing. And you know, that was only 2 weeks ago. That it feels like a year has passed since then, chat. It's been a long couple of weeks since then. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I had a strong sense of where I wanted to go in the discussion after that, but man, it's tough. It's tough to sometimes we get discouraged, and sometimes we feel like we live in a world where yeah, people don't really care about other people. Like I hate to say it. But it's you have to, people don't really care about other people, but also you have to rely on people caring about you to survive. Like it's scary. It's the conclusion I came to last year in that video that's now blown up. It's like all an economy is, the concept of money is that unless you're somebody who's living off the grid, making your own food, you know, doing your own shit, you know, got my own water source, right? Got my own solar panels. I saw a video one day, I think it was a TikTok or a YouTube short, of a guy who had bought it like a trailer, bought like a square of land for the trailer to sit on, right? Had bought a bunch of solar panels, built his own well, and built his own like food supply, and was living completely self-sufficient. And I was like, man, I am totally adverse to manual labor, and that seems amazing. That seems like it would be genuinely awesome. He was like, I spent like $20,000, which is a lot of money, but it's, you know, a conceivable amount of money. And he's like, basically now, like, any money, I have no bills. I have no living expenses. I just, any money I make from here on now in my life is just extra. I was like, that would be wonderful. To have all your basic needs met, right? Who would think that having your basic needs met would take a whole lot of stress off of one's mental load? And having your needs guaranteed to you, despite like what the economy looks like and fucking whether or not somebody wants to hire you. Who knew that would be a good thing, right? Who knew? Not the American people. So not the American voting population, at least. Or at least not how the media would manipulate them to be. So, ambience in your room is so amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You can't really see much of it right now because the light's not very bright. But you know, I got a few shelves full of video games. Got my Ruby shelf. Got you know, the Sonic summer pick. I was my original thought with this like summer pick of Sonic that you can't even really fucking see was that I was gonna change it out every season, because there's summer ones, there's like a Halloween one, there's like a Valentine's Day one. I think I printed out the Valentine's Day one, and I've used that one a few times. I didn't use it this year because I didn't make anything this year, but around Valentine's Day. But I just never got around to doing it. I just never bothered. I don't know. It's been tough. Also, yeah, thanks for the follow, Emmy. Also, my therapist has been gone. My therapist has been on, basically maternity leave. She had a kid. My therapist has been on maternity leave since December. So, as far as she knows, I'm doing well, because I was like, yeah, I got a sweet job offer for this really great client. And she's like, great, that's awesome. I'm glad I get to leave you on that. And that you know, we don't have to worry about your mental health basically being as bad while I'm gone. And now I'm like, hey, when do you get back? Like, is that baby going to college yet? But no, it's just been like, damn it, what the impeccable timing, I guess. But luckily she comes back fairly soon. So not a big deal, but just kind of like, was here to ask if you accept offers from designers or not. As far as like what does that mean? As far as like, you want to design for me? Because I'm kind of talking about how I have no money right now. Baby couldn't wait for a few more months. Yeah, keep cooking, baby. Keep cooking. Or really, the baby could have been born just a little bit earlier so that I could have had all that good time, and then she could have come back around the time that shit got real again, you know? No, I actually do all my own stuff, Emmy. Regardless of my economic status, I actually do all my own logos, banners, Twitch assets. My emotes were made by an artist a long time ago, and I'm just not really interested in doing any more emotes at the moment. I really kind of, it's just kind of a point of not necessarily pride in the sense that like it's an ego thing of like, oh no, I must only have things made by me. But I like being a self-sufficient creator in that way. I like learning how to do all this stuff myself. You know, when I see a Twitch banner, I'm not like, oh, who can I pay to make something cool? I'm like, how can I make something cool? You know, I want to make any chance I get to make something cool. I try to do it myself, you know? So all of my branding I've done myself. You know, I am proud to say that, but you know, I am proud that I have all my own stuff, but it's just kind of like a thing that I like to do. Anywho, yeah, so that's kind of where I've been. And I don't know, I guess I wasn't expecting I don't know, to kind of be so forthcoming. I didn't expect myself to be so honest with you guys, if that makes any sense. I didn't expect to kind of talk about all of this today, to be honest with you. I expected to kind of give you guys maybe the 10-minute version, maybe the 5-minute version of this story, and just be like, yeah, you know, mental health's been hard, you know, kind of had some things fall through, and you know, but honestly, this is just further reminder that stream is a place where I can be myself and talk about these things straight up, you know, and that's something that I should remember when I'm not streaming, honestly. That's part of my problem, is that I don't remember these things when I'm not streaming. And I think, you know, I could stream, but what do I have to stream? You know, I don't know. And I talk myself out of streaming when honestly I could have been streaming this whole time. Guys, I've been playing a lot of video games. All right, I've been coping. All right, that's how I've been spending my time. Let's be real. Which honestly, most of the time I'm playing my video games, I'm playing video games in the living room, hanging out with my girlfriend. So not necessarily something I could stream, but I definitely could be streaming more. You know, I could be setting up stuff to stream more. Just one of those things where I just haven't been. I've been playing a shit ton of Baldur's Gate, actually. I mentioned it, I think, in our last Dapper Club meeting, when David and I were hanging out, and I was playing Baldur's Gate 1, and I fucking love Baldur's Gate, guys. It's fucking awesome. Baldur's Gate 3 was great. Obviously, we played that on stream. I started playing. I went and once Baldur's Gate 3 was over, I replayed it off stream. And I got like into Act 2, I think, on that second playthrough, and I was like, okay, I'm not getting the same fix from this anymore. It's feeling a little bit samey. So I downloaded Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and started those. And it's like, oh God, if Baldur's Gate 3 is like street meth, then like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 is like the distilled fucking just Walter White goddamn Heisenberg shit. Like the ultimate, like boiled down to its absolute dopaminergic maximum just goodness. I don't necessarily recommend. But Baldur's Gate 3 now is like boring compared to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. And is just, as somebody who loves old school RPGs a little bit more and kind of just great, not necessarily grittier, but kind of just crunchier RPGs that are just more math focused and just have a lot more dynamic stuff going on with the game mechanics. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 really scratches that itch. And it really is the first time I've been able to really engage with the AD&D mechanics for the first time, which are kind of notorious for being kind of like unapproachable and kind of gatekeepy, and has been something that ever since I've been a D&D fan, I've wanted to kind of dive into in some form or fashion. And I've had the opportunity to do that with Baldur's Gate, so I've been really enjoying those. But I've kind of been doing that in my evenings, and during the daytime, I've just been struggling to really kind of get videos together and get any sort of like creative juice going. And I decided that what I should be doing is not limiting myself creatively anymore. I should really just take off the gloves and say, this is the Need on the Rocks channel. Welcome to Need on the Rocks. There is no promise that you will find anything in particular on this channel, on any given channel. We're going to do what I want to do. It has been my goal with this channel from the very beginning to have this be a creative outlet, but also to make it my career, but also to break out of being financially dependent on other systems. So in trying to marry the two, I've made compromises in the past, and those compromises have gotten me not nearly as far as letting the creative outlook rip has done. So, the philosophy I had around this time last year that I adopted that really served me well was the philosophy that I actually got from John Mayer, of all people. And that was, somebody asked him in an interview, I guess, how do you keep writing these hits, but also keep doing these, these kind of deeper, more kind of just weirder tracks that really just are kind of album tracks. How do you kind of marry the two? Because not very many people these days can marry the two. And he was like, well, I love the fans. I love the people. And I want to give them what they want, right? I'd be remiss to like not give them what they want, because then number one, I wouldn't make as much money. I'm paraphrasing here. This is not how he talked, but number one, wouldn't make the money. And number two, fans wouldn't be happy with me. And I want to make the fans happy. But then also I want to keep creative. I want to keep staying creative. I want to keep pushing, the creative envelope. So, the philosophy I have is one for me and one for them. And that's what I do. I write one for me, and then I get my creative energy flowing. I do something new. I do something interesting. I do something fun. And then I write something that I think is a little bit more mainstream and is going to be kind of more radio friendly and something that people are going to, that I'm pretty sure people are going to enjoy a little bit more. And I put that one out, and I dropped that one as a single, and I saved the other one for the album. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. That's what I should be doing. And so what I did is I dropped that Sonic video that I thought was going to be the one for me, ended up being the one for you guys. What I did was I started, instead of doing every other video, I did every third video. So I did that video. I did two other videos that were creatively different, just in a totally different wheelhouse. and then I would drop another Sonic commentary video. And I tried to keep up that pattern of trying to do every third video for you guys and the other 2 videos of me. The novel idea of doing what you want to do. Imagine, Will. Imagine. I really appreciate the transparency. I've been struggling hard myself finding a creative career I actually care about versus working a day job to pay bills. So it feels like I'm not alone. That's what I've realized from reading all the comments. If you guys don't know, I read every single comment that comes through the YouTube channel. There's a little thing on the YouTube panel, like the YouTube studio panel, that tells you like unresponded to comments. I respond to every single one, which means I either leave the little heart symbol on it, which is basically like a red check, honestly, because sometimes I will heart messages that I absolutely do not want to engage with, but I'll leave a heart, which just helps people to feel good when they see that I recognize like them leaving their story, or they're leaving their experience, or leaving just a fun comment, and then or I'll try to respond. You know, if they've got something that they've said that I find is something worth responding to, as far as like I have something meaningful to say in response, I'll respond to it. And I've done that with every single comment that has come in out of the now more than 1 million views this channel has. I think, actually, maybe not quite 1 million combined, but probably around there. This channel has about 1 million views now on all of its videos put together. And for all of the comments that have come in over those 1 million views, I have responded to every single one. And in reading those comments, I find that what people realize when they come to my channel is that they're not alone. And that is probably the thing of that is probably the most valuable thing I have to offer the internet, YouTube, this community, whatever you want to call it. I've been really struggling with that value, that feeling of value. I was actually going to talk a little bit today about a book I read. There's a book that's really important to me. It was written by a Jewish author who survived the Holocaust. His name was Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist before the war, and then was put into a concentration camp, and was essentially one of the lucky ones in that they recognized that he was a doctor and had something to essentially contribute to the camp, and so they kept him alive. And he, still suffered greatly and still saw just a lot of people. His wife died. His wife was separated from him, and she was a victim of the concentration camps and never left. And he was already, before the war, working on the concept of finding a relief from suffering through finding meaning. And he called it logotherapy. And I feel like the logotherapy thing, honestly, is it makes it sort of feel like it's like a punchy little tagline of like he's got like his like new brand of whatever, like almost like it's unnecessary to the greater themes of his work, I think, which is the concept of finding the relief through finding meaning. And so he talks about like surviving his wife and things like that. And he talks about and the book, by the way, is called Man's Search for Meaning. It's a fantastic book. I listened to it as an audiobook in one sitting. I started it and then realized I had to finish it. So I read it in one sitting a few years ago. And then when I was visiting Europe last year, we actually visited the Dachau concentration camp where he was first imprisoned. And they have, a little bookstore there now. and I was able to purchase his. He has 2 books published in English, and I was like, hey, do you guys have anything Viktor Frankl? And they were like, oh yeah. And they were like, here's the German, and here's the English. It was just 2 books, but I bought them both. And then on the train to Paris, I read Man's Search for Meaning again, cover to cover. It was phenomenal. Again, I think it's the first book I've ever actually reread. I don't know that I've ever reread a book in my life before that. And I've really kind of struggled to find my own sense of meaning lately. There's at least I've struggled to find meaning in what I do in terms of how to bring value that can be monetized, right? I get a lot of meaning out of just the daily things I do in life. I get a huge sense of meaning. The way that I've been able to stay afloat, honestly, mental health wise, is that I get a huge sense of meaning from just experiencing life with my girlfriend, experiencing life with my family, experiencing life with my friends, traveling, watching movies, playing video games. I really feel a deep sense of meaning playing Baldur's Gate, honestly. I don't get a good sense of meaning playing every video game. There are definitely video games that I'm like, I am doing this just for the dopamine drip. Puyo Pop Fever is one of my favorites. Actually, what is the Steam version called? Puyo Puyo Champions. I have 29.5 hours in this game. That is 29.5 hours I will not get back. That is purely for the dopamine drip. And a little bit of a sense of like, improving at something because I try to beat my high score or whatever. But like experiencing stories in video games, overcoming challenges. I don't think of video games as just video games. I think that you can have real experiences playing video games, and I find a good amount of meaning through those. The problem is all of the things, like if you get a Venn diagram of like things I find really meaningful and things that make money, they're 2 separate circles. Like, generally speaking, the exception being YouTube and streaming and things like that. But the ways that I make money through YouTube and streaming and things like that, I've started to not feel great about. I don't feel great. I no longer feel great about taking money from you guys. Just straight up, like having you guys be living in the world where everybody is struggling the way that we are. I'm like, I don't feel deserving of the very little time and very little money that you guys give me. I feel humbled by it. And I've always kind of felt humbled by it, but it's crossed now into the point of being an unhealthy level of undeserving, where now I'm like, well, no, I'm going to reject it. I'm going to reject doing the things that are profitable because I feel bad about it. I feel guilty about it. I've kind of had ambitions for things that I can, that are kind of more monetizable, that I can do as forms of content. It took a lot to publish that DaVinci Resolve book that I put out last year. I felt really not super great about that. Like I was like, I wish I could just put this out for free. I wish I didn't have to charge money for this. Everything I do, I'm like, man, I really just wish I didn't have to charge money for this. And my girlfriend luckily is one of the most understanding people I know, and understands one for one how this feels because she's a theater director, and she actually lent me before we moved in together. Now it's just ours, but she lent to me this picture she has. It's this poster that she has framed that's talking about how art should be cheap, art should be free, in fact, because art is the sustenance for life, and anything that sustains life should be accessible. And she's a theater director, and she has to charge for her shows. And she's like, I wish I didn't have to charge for my shows. I wish it could be free, because art should be accessible, but we got to pay the bills. So it's just one of those things that's rough. And so, you know, now I've done sponsorships a few times. Yeah, I've done a couple sponsorships now, which is wild to think about. And I got some pushback on those sponsorships. I was careful not to do. I already did. I really only did them. I did them for. I was careful to choose sponsors that I felt could actually serve the audience of the videos I was doing, and I stand by that. And I stand by the sponsorships that I did, because I you know, tried their products out, whatever, and believed in them. I did the well, I won't name drop them just because they're not paying me anymore. Let's put it that way. But you know, the most recent one in the ADHD video, they actually reached out to me and offered to do a long-term thing. And it was kind of when I was starting to get in with this client. And I was like, actually, I with this client doing stuff, I don't know that I can commit to a long-term thing, because you never know. Like, I don't know that I can get a video out every single week or every other week or however many times you want me to do it. And they were actually, first of all, everybody I worked with at that company was wonderful, I must admit. And they were totally willing to work with me on that, but I just could not really commit to what they wanted me to do, which was the only reason I really didn't take that kind of long-term deal. The other thing was too, is I was like, if I take a deal for 6 months and then it turns out that, you know, maybe we learn maybe something becomes public that maybe this company isn't the best, you know, people ever or whatever, or something negative comes out, you know, signing a 6-month contract is like, I don't know about that. Which, you know, I have no reason to believe that that would happen to them, or that would happen with anybody that I've worked with, but you know, you never know. So, it just wasn't something I was comfortable with taking at the moment, at the time. I actually had somebody reach out for, I used to not talk about stuff, behind the scenes stuff like this on stream, because I was like, no, because you gotta be, I was like, I should be professional in the public facing out. You know, I obviously don't divulge anything I can't divulge here on the live stream or whatever, but I used to be much more like, oh no, I shouldn't do that because it's unprofessional. And I'm just like, who cares? But I actually got a company reached out to me, chat, that you may have heard of, that wanted to sponsor the content, that really thought we could do great work together. Rhymes with letter delp. That I was like, come on. Y'all aren't still in business, right? Like, that's not for real, is it? So I ignored the email, and then they emailed me again. Chat, they really wanted to work with me. I'm guessing they don't wanna work with me anymore. But no, Will. Rhymed with. They got the name right. Because I'm pretty sure it was legit. But one way or another, I was like, no, we're not gonna do this. Because as great as it would be to have a sustainable income, I can't sell out. Can't do it by selling out. The problem came when, in the last, few months, with my mental health not being so well, I started thinking of myself as a sellout before I sold out. I've been giving myself the same shit as if I've already sold you guys out. I don't even have the money to show for it. What am I doing? So, all of this to say, really, I did not want to spend an hour and a half just talking about why I haven't been making content and complaining about all the shit that's happened to me in the last 4 months, but here we are. What I really wanted to talk about was what we're going to do going forward. Because something that I learned early on in my career, I got burned a few times, or I got kind of disappointed in myself a few times, or I got kind of had some kind of negative things happen to my mental health a few times, because I would be like, I would make promises on stream, or I would make commitments on stream to something, and then I wouldn't be able to uphold my commitments. You know, I've been guilty of this many a time. Will, I think, is still waiting on some reward I think he earned as part of like some contest we held on the Minecraft server or something like that. I don't think I ever did Will right on that. But am I? See, I was hoping you'd forget about it. I actually don't remember. It's either you or it's Fanjecture maybe. It's one of you guys, I think. I think I was going to have. I think we did a contest. It was like a YouTube video contest, and I think we decided that both of the Adams won. It was Fanjecture and then Adam. What was the screen name? And we Minecraft. You say Rockshire Architect. What the fuck? That's a deep cut. And of course, this whole architect thing still hasn't died. Huh. Interesting. That's some deep lore for some of the homies in chat. But I got to keep moving. So, God, where was I? Anyway. Oh, yeah. It used to be a tough mental health thing sometimes, in that I would make these promises on stream or whatever, or in Discord or whatever, and then I wouldn't be able to follow through. You know, I would attempt to follow through, or I wouldn't be able to. And I was watching a Harris Heller stream one day, and he gave some advice that I stuck to since. That was basically along the lines of never tell them your next move. Because if you give somebody something to expect, you then set expectations. And when you set expectations, you set somebody up for disappointment. Whereas if you don't set any expectations, then nobody's ever disappointed, because everything you give them is like, it's like, oh boy, 2 cakes or whatever, you know, kind of the thing. And that's decent advice for most people. The problem comes in that when I never say I'm going to do anything, I never have any sense of like commitment to myself or you guys. And without that sense of commitment, I don't have like any sort, it's not motivation is not the word I'm looking for, but like a sense of direction, you know? So I actually put together like, over a year ago, kind of the plan, the plan, right? I'd made this like whole PowerPoint and everything. That was like my plan of action for like the future of Neon on the Rocks. And I showed it to just Sam, which is a mentor of mine. You guys know. I showed it basically just Sam. I was like, hey, Sam, what do you think? He was like, I mean, sure, but like, now you got to do it. I was like, yeah, right. That's the problem. And now I've gone forward with that plan enough to know that it works. So now I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long time, and I'm going to share that with you guys, despite the fact that it's going to set expectations, and that those expectations I'm going to potentially disappoint. I've decided I would rather deal with that than not give you guys something to hope for and something to look forward to. So here was the plan. Here's basically the plan, just boiled down to its absolute essentials. 1 video a week, 1 live stream a week, in some form or fashion. If all else fails, 1 video a week, 1 stream a week. And then the plan was 1 video, 1 stream, 1 short. But shorts have just never passed the vibe check for me. And I've realized that I would not be doing shorts for a creative outlet. I would be doing shorts because algorithm, and I don't give a fuck about that anymore. So I've decided 1 video a week at all cost, 1 live stream a week at all cost. The live stream may be a little bit more flexible. May just kind of, but I don't want to be wishy-washy. I kind of want to just commit to it and see what happens. Because goddamn it, every time I get on stream, I fucking have a blast. Because you guys show up and you guys make everything a blast. So, looks like the thing I wanted in the MC server was just recognition and spawning a tour on stream, neither of which is feasible anymore. Let's get the backup up for more. I think we actually did go through with that. So I think I'm thinking of another thing, Will. But I guess I was right about you winning the Minecraft contest, though. I did remember that. How much time do you plan to allocate to each step? So the idea is there's going to be videos that take me more than a week to cook on. And in the meantime, there's other things creatively that I want to explore. So something else I've struggled with in my time as a creator, in all fucking nearly 6 years now. Nearly 6 years I've been a fucking YouTuber and a streamer. In the 6 years that this stream has been a thing, only Wolf and I entered, so you just said we both won. That that sounds like it sounds about right. In the 6 years I've been a streamer, I have shit, what was I gonna say? Damn it, what were we talking about? Videos and shorts. Oh yes. I've always had this like idea of like, what do I want my channel identity to be? What is Need on the Rocks about? And it became like, at some point the channel was called Crash Course Content with Need on the Rocks because I was going to make a series called Crash Course Content where I was going to teach you how to be a content creator. And I was going to teach you, about DaVinci Resolve and how to light your setup and how to work a camera and things like that. Everybody's got a channel identity, right? These days. Markiplier plays video games fucking in like the Markiplier way. There's a bunch of D&D channels I love. At some point I had 4 different YouTube channels that I was planning on working concurrently. I had Need on the Rocks Music for music videos. I had fucking Rollin' Neat 20. I was going to do D&D videos. And I had Straight Up the Creator Cast, which was my podcast. And just ever since, and I was like, okay, well, the D&D channel didn't work out. The podcast was going well, but it just wasn't sustainable. Need on the Rocks Music, I just ended up closing. And actually that channel became this channel. Became kind of Need on the Rocks, whereas my Need on the Rocks channel became Crash Course Content or whatever, later became The Neat Work. And then this has just become my main channel. And something that I've never done or really allowed myself to do was just upload whatever the fuck I want to make a video about. I've never just allowed myself to do that. There are so many videos, chat, so many videos that I've thrown away the idea because it did not fit a specific idea of like what I thought the channel should be. I've decided that this channel is not called Noah's channel, Need on the Rocks' channel, whatever. It's not Crash Course Content with Need on the Rocks. It's not Need on the Rocks Music. It's not anything that fits one specific just niche, to be honest. Even though that's what everybody recommends that I do. The core of this channel, and I mean, who said it earlier? I'm going to scroll back up so I can find it. Mag said, it feels like I'm not alone. Because of something I shared, somebody feels like they're not alone. That's what the core of this channel is. And what I think would be really cool is if I didn't necessarily try to cater to one specific kind of person, to make one specific kind of person feel like they're not alone, but to appeal to anybody who's like me and has anything in common with me, or is at all interested in any creative project I could possibly be part of. So, as of now, the Neon on the Rocks channel, I'm gonna upload some stuff that I'm gonna upload at least one video. Here's my goal. My goal is I will upload at least one video that each person in this chat does not vibe with. That is like, for at least one video for each and every one of you. I want to have like true variety in that way. I want to start making videos about D&D again. Is that a challenge? A little bit, yeah. Because if I go on that challenge and I find that everybody in this chat actually vibes with every single one of those videos, booyah, I've hit the fucking jackpot, right? So, I'm still gonna, and it's going to be something that I'm going to be able to be creatively challenged by, because something I love, I'll be honest, chat, as much as I fucking hate the YouTube algorithm, as much as I hate algorithms, as much as I hate this fucking, this merry-go-round of bullshit that we call the YouTube platform, I also kind of fucking love the game. I kind of love making thumbnails. I kind of love coming up with catchy titles. I gotta admit it. It's kind of fun. And so I'm gonna fucking have to work on, like, how do I spin this? How do I make this into a title? How do I make this into a thumbnail? But damn it, I want to make D&D videos again, chat. I actually started playing. I started putting together, my regular kind of D&D group, that kind of broke apart. Two of them moved to another state. And I was like, and I've always kind of been against online D&D. And I finally last year, or like around November, actually it was around the election. The election happened and I was like, guys, I'm upset. Is there any way we can play D&D again? And they were like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like, we just want to play D&D again. We don't care that it's online. You're the only one that has the stipulation that it can't be online. I was like, cool. So let's do it. And if you guys don't know, I actually typically will run D&D games. I'm a dungeon master by trade. And it was cool because D&D was actually coming out and has been coming out with updated core rulebooks. The Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual have been updated. Now the Monster Manual Guide just came out, and they've all been updated for like their 2024 like anniversary rule set, whatever. And it was initially kind of like, oh, this is kind of hype. This is gonna kind of be something that's fresh. It was, it turned out to be a disaster. It turned out that they totally screwed the pooch with how they've been doing the kind of update. And then I learned that Pathfinder, which I've always been kind of like tangentially interested in, had a second edition release. Sorry, my girlfriend just got home. So Pathfinder came out with Pathfinder 2, a second edition, if you will. And I started looking into it, and I realized that everything that Pathfinder 2 does, Which Pathfinder has always been kind of the company that's like, hey, D&D is doing this thing that's pissing a lot of people off. We're going to do something that's going to make y'all happy. They went in a totally different direction as D&D, and it's a direction I'm in love with. So I kind of just told my friends, I was like, actually, we're not going to play D&D. We're going to play Pathfinder. And y'all are going to deal because it's very similar to D&D. And they're like, that's fine. Two of them had already played Pathfinder before, so they were like, we're fine with that. And the other ones were like, Pathfinder's just D&D, but better. So like, let's do it. So I want to make D&D and Pathfinder videos. That's something that I want to do. So I was like, do I start, Roll and Eat 20 back up? Do I start back, do I make a second channel? Do I do it? I'm like, fuck it. Let's put out D&D videos. Like, let's put out let's do what I made this channel for. What the Neon Rocks channel was for was to be all the videos that weren't going to go on another channel because they didn't fit a particular niche or whatever, or didn't fit like one idea of like what I wanted to be what I wanted the channel to be. It's called fucking YouTube for a fucking reason. So welcome to Neon on the Rocks. I'm your host, Neon on the Rocks. What are the videos going to be about? I don't know. Probably a lot of things. Probably a lot of cool things. Probably some things that are maybe not as cool, that are maybe kind of just a little niche. Just a little fuck around and find out type of deal. And then, every other video or every third video is going to be one that I think is going to make, the masses happy. It's going to be a Sonic commentary video. It's going to be something that I think is going to, be a little bit more kind of that established brand. But I want to, my creative vision for this channel is to prove to people and to prove to the platform that this whole getting a niche and treating it like a business and treating it like it's something that it's not, it's a way of going about it. I have nothing against a lot of the people who operate that way on YouTube. Some of them I do have something against them, but not all of them. I still have friends that are in those spaces. April Lynn Alter is doing great stuff. I've interacted with her a few times. We're in kind of like a Discord together. She does great stuff. I still love the people. My roots will always be with like Patrick Sterling, Sam, people who make content to help people make content. And I'm still going to do some of that stuff. I may still release that video on the YouTube algorithm. But I'm not going to limit myself to that anymore. And I'm not going to engage with that in an unhealthy way anymore. That's my commitment to you guys. The other thing I wanted to discuss here is I wanted to discuss changes in monetization, because as I've discussed previously, I struggle with monetization and how to implement it into what I do. Because I'm timid. I'm always timid to jump in, because I really respect every member of the audience and how they choose to spend their money. And I never want to. I struggle with offering things that I'm not super confident that I can deliver on. And even when I release a product and I put a price stamp on it, I'm terrified that it's not worth, what people pay for it and these things. So it's a hard thing for me to navigate. But kind of what I'm looking at doing, I can't commit to anything right today, because I just haven't formulated what it's going to be yet. So I can't necessarily make any sort of definitive statements today. But I wanted the stream to happen today because, I wanted this week to be the week that I kind of started kind of getting things back on track. And so I woke up this morning and I was like, today's the day. Today's the day I stream again. And so I opened OBS, got all my, multi-stream stuff set up with Stream Elements and put out the notification that we'd be streaming today. So I was like, let's do it. Today's the day. So I can't make any commitments today because I just haven't worked them out yet exactly what it's going to look like. But there's going to be some changes to membership. Oh no, I'm delayed. This won't make any sense. It's fine. The sentiment is there, game. The sentiment is there. I know what moment you're referring to. So the memberships, I think I'm going to change how they work. I think we're going to no longer have tiers. So if you don't know right now how I've got monetization really set up, is if you go to neilonrocks.com, which I'm very proud to have operating, there's a 3-tier sort of like subscription plan that you can subscribe to. You know, it's kind of inspired by Twitch's kind of 3 tiers of subs. There's a $5 tier, which is essentially just the ship me $5 tier, which is just there for people who want to support the channel. There's the value tier called the Dapper Club, which is supposed to be the, like, here's the features tier. It's currently $15. And then there's the I want to contribute to your success in a meaningful manner beyond what, and I acknowledge that you cannot repay me for this. And that's like a $50 tier. And I've had a few people go on that, and I of course appreciate the support. And that tier is there for me to kind of just like graciously and guiltlessly accept people's generosity. But the problem is that I am not good at delivering the value across the tiers in a way that makes sense to me. And I'm not very good at really giving people a reason to differentiate between a Twitch sub, between a YouTube membership, between a between a $5 tier on the website. So I'm thinking about simplifying things a little bit. I'm thinking about there being, Twitch has its own subscription, YouTube has its own memberships, and then there's the Neat Club. And it's just one tier. That way we don't have, YouTube members get these benefits and Twitch subscribers get these benefits, and then $5 tier gets these benefits, and Dapper Club members get these benefits, and then Immaculate Club tier gets these benefits, and it's all this confusing nonsense. That's too much for me to handle, let alone for you guys to handle. So what I'm thinking is leaning more into YouTube memberships as the new sort of $5 tier, or the new low tier. I don't know if it'll be $5 yet. It just kind of depends on what makes sense. And then condensing everything on the website down to just one membership. And I'm thinking about dropping that down to $10 a month. That way, if you want to be part of the Dapper Club, but you still want to be a YouTube member, you want to get the YouTube members. See, the problem is with exclusivity, right? The problem is that with YouTube memberships, you really want to be able to do things that give people exclusive stuff on YouTube. But I'm like, but I don't want to have, a $15 membership tier with exclusive stuff, and then but they have to pay an extra $5 to be part of the YouTube memberships. So what I'm thinking is, if you want to be subscribed to all the Neat exclusive stuff, including having Twitch emotes for whatever reason, most you'd have to pay is like $20. And that would be the $5 for a Twitch sub, $5 for a YouTube sub, $10 for a membership. And then you can mix and match. Instead of having a tier system where it's all or nothing, you now can then mix and match what you want. If you're like, I don't need the exclusive, whatever you've got exclusive on YouTube, I don't need the YouTube membership, that's fine. I just want to be part of the Dapper Club or whatever it is, $10 a month. If I don't care about the weekly meetings or monthly meetings or whatever I end up offering on the club memberships, but I want to be part of I really like the YouTube videos. I just want to watch more Neil and Rocks. I want to do some like exclusive live streams or something. Do a YouTube membership, right? So that's kind of the idea I've got going forward. Now, I don't know that I'm going to just start doing exclusive YouTube live streams for members only right off the bat. I'm thinking what I'm going to do there is probably some sort of like stretch goal type thing, where it's like, okay, hey, we're now kind of like relaunching memberships, YouTube memberships for the Neil and Rocks channel. Here's what it offers. So, sorry, my girlfriend just like ran by. I don't know what's going on, but it's fine. Here's kind of what I was thinking. Is probably something like some exclusive videos, and having something kind of exclusive for members up until we reach a certain membership threshold, like 20, we'll say, or just throwing out a number. Don't hold me to any of these numbers, because these will change once I actually look at the numbers and we figure out what makes sense. But I'm thinking something like after 20 members or 30 members or 50 members or however many members we reach, then we start doing exclusive live streams where we actually have a number of people who could attend them, and we would set this up as a stretch goal when the memberships kind of have their kind of soft relaunch, because technically you could become a member now if you really wanted to. And I think that would kind of be, and that would give me the chance to kind of make some stuff that's like, okay, here's my YouTube channel, here's my YouTube algorithm deep dive, but it's going to be a live, it's going to be it's going to be unedited. It's just going to be me talking about how the YouTube algorithm works, maybe with a notepad or a Word document or a what do you call it, Microsoft Paint open and drawing diagrams and shit, as just like a fun thing, and having that be how we set that up. And then if I really commit to that, because what we're really trying to get here, chat, is focus. Because if you didn't know, ADHD is a hell of a drug. Just an absolute hell of a drug. And the thing that has held me back in my life, in my work, in everything that I do, is lack of focus. And right now, what I'm really trying to do is focus down and letting myself explore new territories as far as being unfocused in the ways that I need to be in order to have novelty. Because as well, if I do the same videos, if I were to make a video on one niche, or if I were to make a channel on one niche and try to make that my career, I would go fucking crazy. I tried to do it once. I went fucking crazy because I just can't do it. Like, I need the novelty. I need to talk about something that's not one thing. I couldn't make a Sonic only channel. I could not be a Sonic tuber simply because I cannot just talk about Sonic forever. I could do it for 6 months and I could go hard for like 6 months. Like last year, Year of Shadow was a good year for Sonic fans. We ate. But now that like the movie came out, the movie was great, and now like the hype has died down a little bit. Sonic Racing came out, where got announced. It's cool. But like, I'm not thinking about Sonic every day like I was a couple months ago. The same way. And I couldn't run as much as, even though you guys know how many times, a lot of you know how many times I've been doing a serious stream and we've been talking about something completely different. And then somebody's mentioned something about Star Wars, and I've gone on a fucking Star Wars tangent for like 3 hours. You guys know, even though you guys know that, I could not run a Star Wars channel. I cannot just think and talk about Star Wars all day, every day. I can't do it. I need something novel. When I was a kid, Sonic was my favorite video game, except for when Metal Gear Solid was my favorite video game. And I would, I could play Jak and Daxter over and over and over again. Then I would get bored and I'd play Jak 2, and then I'd play Sly Cooper, and then I'd play Sonic, and then I would play Metal Gear, and then I would play, whatever game. And then there were days where I would stand in front of my fucking shelf and I'd be like, I've fucking 50 games and nothing to play, D&D is like that. I went through a phase in college where I was like, man, I could just talk about D&D and like write content for D&D for the rest of my life. I could make a job out of this if I felt like it was actually monetizable. And I fucking did. I actually did write a D&D book that made like over $1,000 or some shit. And who's to say I'm not going to do that again? I closed the door on that a long time ago, and now I think it's open again. I'm now in a headspace where I'm like choosing to see the possibilities rather than the opposite of that, I guess. So, I'm looking to expand kind of the reach creatively, but focus down, in a everything else sort of the non-creative parts. Focus in the non-creative parts, in the work parts. Get a focus down. Get more of a focus in what I do, so that we can have a system that's easily approachable, easily accessible, where you guys can get some cool stuff for your money. That's the idea. And now it's just a matter of figuring out how to do that. So, yeah, so that's kind of my ideas for the day. That's kind of where I was at in terms of stuff I wanted to talk about on stream today. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I'm so tired of getting knocked down and then having to get back up again. Like, I keep getting back up again. That's not the problem. The problem is how repetitive it gets, and having to come back to you guys and be like, hey guys, sorry I've been away for so long. Sorry, I'm gonna get back into it. I'm tired of I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired of doing that. I want this to be the last time I have to do that, at least for a long time. So that's the commitment, chat. Expect a video next week. Video next week. Stream next week. To be announced when, but that's the idea. And then expect news about a restructuring of monetization sometime after that. Because the other thing too is I thought the idea was products for a while. The Sonic overlays did fairly well. The Resolve book / plugins did really well. And I know that I definitely still want to put together some Resolve plugins and stuff as a product to sell. But in terms of long term, something I was really looking forward to for a really long time was maybe a course. I was like, there will come a day where I feel qualified to make a course, and then I would like to maybe make a course that would be paid. And now just everything about courses that I've seen is like, oh yeah, everybody fucking hates courses now because everybody who makes a course is fucking scamming people these days. Not to say that there's not exceptions to that rule, but a lot of people have lost faith in courses because now you look scummy just by releasing a course. And that's an unfortunate truth of it. And while I'm not necessarily like worried about what people think of me in that way, I know that if I make a course that's worth the time and effort, that I'm not going to sweat people who are like, oh, you made a course, but at the same time, it's like, I also think that I would be remiss to feel like I'm putting stuff in a course that I wouldn't have shared already, for free, stuff that I wouldn't put into, there's something to be said about distilling information down and making it, putting it all in one place and making it accessible. There's people who do like a lot of chess tutorials and then they'll do a chess course because it's like, okay, instead of just general chess tutorials, here's a course that's like, here's how to learn the specific strategy. And I think that's great. I bought a chess course a long time ago and I love it. Like, it was cool. I don't regret that purchase, but does switching to a large variety mean the return of games with chat? With the number of people that are now part of the community, I don't know that games with chat is something that I necessarily want to do. However, It depends on how deep in the D&D we can go with the channel. It depends on how active a few of the Pathfinder channels, which Pathfinder is not nearly as big as D&D, so Pathfinder channels generally don't have more than maybe 50,000 subscribers at the most. A lot of them have like Discord set up with like communities where they will get together and play and will facilitate the play of tabletop games, and that's pretty damn cool to me. I don't know if that's going to be something that we do, because again, I think that kind of goes outside of the purview of like the focus, really. Simply because we would have to set up, tools to facilitate that, tools for moderation to make sure people are not being dicks in that. And that's something that I think if we were a dedicated D&D channel, we could do, but without just being our niche, I don't know that that's something we could necessarily set up. I think there are probably going to be better places for that. But it's not something I'm totally against. Setting up community D&D games has always been like low key, kind of a little bit of a dream of mine. So maybe if we ever get to the channel to a place, what I would love is for the channel to get to a place where it's sustainable without much effort, without much like mental tax, if that makes sense. So like if the channel gets to a point where it sustains itself without me having to worry about maintaining certain things. So for example, if we could maybe bring on people that we could pay to moderate, or that we could pay to be dungeon masters or pay to facilitate this, and me to just kind of oversee that, set it up, and then let it be its own thing, that would be cool. But I'm kind of also, I'm an anti-capitalist, so paying people to do something and then skimming a part of that profit off the top for myself is not something I'm super interested in doing. It may be something that is just necessary at some point, for us to be able to do things, because ultimately that's how our system works. And so for us to, for me to be able to do things and outside of what one person can do, that's kind of how it has to work. Right. So, I don't know. So we'll see. That may become an eventuality. I would want to approach it with a lot of care, because I do not want people to experience what I've experienced with freelancing and working in the creative industry for other people. It's been a fucking nightmare, and I never want to subject somebody to that. So, yeah. I think I think where I'm gonna explore the variety is gonna be on stream. I think we're gonna play games on stream again, like for real this time, for real. I'm not gonna sweat like, oh, is it gonna make the YouTube channel look unclean with like, oh, the live streams are oh, but there's so many live streams with the same thumbnail. Fuck it. Fuck it. I don't give a shit anymore. I have so much more important things to care about in my life now. Like for game recommendations, no, not at the moment. Let's be real. I always know that you have game recommendations for when I need them. Let's be real. You have been requesting me to play certain games for a long time. And I know that I basically have not met any of your recommendations, and yet you're still here, so I appreciate that. But there's definitely some like Baldur's Gate challenge runs I probably want to do. I find that Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are far more replayable than Baldur's Gate 3, just because the mods that are set up, and the story is just so much more kind of open in those games. And then Steam refunded me for Hunt because you never accepted the gift. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry. At least you got a refund. I actually didn't know I didn't accept the gift. That's my bad. But yeah. I think that's our show for the day. everybody. I think that's our stream. I can't think of anything else I really want to share. Just, you know, I'm alive. I'm back. I don't want to be not back anymore. Yeah. Video next week. Stream next week. I got to figure out what that video is going to be, what that stream is going to be, but commitment, chat. Commitment. So this is my year of not being afraid of commitment. How about that? Let's see if anybody reads too much into that. So, all right, chat. Well, yeah. Love you. I'll see you next week. Catch you then.